Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are comparing my favorite consumer light polish, which is Meguiars Ultimate Polish, to Mother's Pure Polish from their Ultimate Wax System. As you can see, it is step 1. On the back, they have 3 steps. So there's the pure polish, the micro polishing glaze, and then their carnauba wax. So we're going to look at this in a few different ways. You'll see, obviously, beside it, I've got a few other guys. This is the cleaner wax, so like an all-in-one. And then this guy is their ceramic 3-in-1 polishing coat, which I absolutely love. It is a prep product for ceramic coatings. You can coat right over top of it. All you gotta do is wipe it off. So we are going to look at these two and see how much they can cut for, you know, a consumer 16-ounce product. They're about the same price. I'm almost out of this stuff, so I picked this up. It was on sale, so I just thought, hey, let's give it a shot. We'll compare it to these two in a hand application on a test panel. And then we have a lovely car here, donated to be polished to test it as a like a real world scenario. So on a car that's just been clayed and washed, not in that order. And we're going to see how much they can do via machine. So we're going to look at both those today, and then see if this stuff is any good for around $11-12, which I bought it for, or should I continue to stick with my tried and true. Anyway, let's move on to the test panel to see how they look. Okay, so we got old Testy McTesterston here. As you can see, you've got 1 through 4. Again, I'm not telling you who is who, but we're going to look at these. These were applied and worked in, I guess you could say, yesterday. The Meguiars and the Mother's pure polishes were panel wiped, so there's no oils making it look better than it is. Obviously, the Brazilian carnauba wax and the ceramic coat have not been panel wiped because they're not supposed to be panel wiped. So if you were to use them, this is the results you would get, because that's how you would use it. But anyway, moving on. So contestant number 1, and that is your control line. So 1, control V. Trying to do this in a way where it makes sense. So it's a little darker, a little more filled. The swirl reduction is very minor. I don't know if I'd call that a massive difference, but that's what you get. Not much. Moving on to 2. So here's number 2. There's your control. So it's faint. It's very faint. See if I can get the light a little better here, but not a ton removed by hand. Again, these are all applied using the same type of microfiber applicator, so it's even Steven across the board. Yeah, not much of a reduction there. Moving on, number 3. So number 3, not much of a difference also. Very faint. 2 and 3 are very faint. Again, this is done by hand with microfiber, so there's only so much you're going to get out of these things. But that control line is, I mean, on the right lighting it's visible, but it is not nearly as drastic as it should be. So, moving on, number 4. It's a lot darker, a lot of jetting. But overall, still a lot of swirls. Like, none of these are heavy hitters. They are final cleanup, and when done by hand, you're getting minimal results. So yeah, that's it for the test panel. I'm gonna zoom out once here and just do one little flyby. Let's start over. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So yeah, I'm giving it to 4 in this case. 1 and 4 did better than 2 and 3. But let's move on to the actual car. Okay, everyone. We've got 1 versus 2 on this trim here, on this lovely Jaguar. And we are going to, the controls right here, right in the center. We're just going to go back and forth between each side using Mr. Flashy-Matron. You tell me which side looks better. There's one that looks better. I've been checking it without the camera and stuff in the way, but you tell me. So here's your control. Nice and swirlies. Number 1. Let me zoom this in. So number 1 versus number 2. I personally think number 2 looks a little better, but it's pretty hard to say. It's like number 1 has more deep scratches left over, and number 2 has more small scratches left over, which, you know, seems odd. Obviously, these are real world hazed panels from neglect and abuse, so I can't even out the defects on them per se. I'm going to say number 2 looks a lot better. Yeah. Look how deep those are. I mean, granted, they might not have been on that side, but I see them all through here. So what happens there happens here. So yeah. Anyway, conclusion time. Okay. So after all that rigmarole, who's who? So in the first panel, the hand polish panel, number 1 was CMX 3-in-1 polishing coat. So I'd say it came second overall. It's not an aggressive cutter. It is a very fine polish. I honestly wouldn't even really count on it for buffer haze. I would use it purely to prep a surface, but it is great at that, and it has an excellent bottle with an excellent top. So I have no qualms or beefs with this product. I've seen many coatings work over top of it. It's a fantastic deal at $16 for 16 ounces. And you don't have to wait or panel wipe it after you use it. You can go straight to coating. So, good stuff. Number 2, Ultimate Polish. This is, again, for the hand polish panel. The car is a different order. Yes. After getting panel wiped, there was not a massive difference between this and the control section. So, I mean, it is a light polish. There's no getting around that. So if you got soft paint, you could probably use this for your 6 months maintenances or something like that. But Ultimate Compound is a much more versatile product overall. It finishes and cuts. Just change up your pad and techniques, and you can get by with just that guy. But if you've got really soft paint, you might want to look into this. It's extremely easy to use and it's very cheap. So at least in North America, it's cheap. Sorry, people from the other parts of the world. Number 3, Pure Polish. So on the hand polish section, this guy and Ultimate Polish, there wasn't a massive difference between the two. They both had the same rough amount of cut. They both had the same amount of darkening and effect and all that stuff. By hand, I would use something more aggressive. Personally, neither of these would be good by hand, but they're both the same price. They both almost even have the same smell. You can't really go wrong. By hand, either of them is going to do the same thing, and neither of them should be used by hand, honestly. Unless you have a massively oxidized car and you just don't have the time, then they'll do more than nothing. But as you saw, it made very little dent. So yeah, and then finally, number 4 was the cleaner wax, and I expected this to do the best because it is a wax. I don't even know if it's abrasive, to be honest with you. I'd have to read over the wank on the back of the bottle, but if it is, it's milder than heck. But it's a wax and cleaner all in one. So it will clean off oxidization and usually provide more darkening and jetting and some kind of a protective barrier afterwards. So yes, it did better here, but it should have. If it didn't, something wrong. But moving on to the hood. Product 1, Meguiars. Product 2, Mothers. I was actually surprised at how much this did. It did a great job cutting back the panel, and this car is beat up. It's not in good shape. You should see the rest of the hood. Somebody's been at it with a rotary, and they didn't know what the heck they were doing. But it did a decent job cleaning that up, and at $11 for 16 ounces, again, where I live, you could do way worse. Machine application makes these things do much more work for you. If you are looking into polishing and you are thinking of starting by hand, go to Ultimate Compound for a hand polish and get a proper hand polish applicator too. Don't use microfiber wads or things like that. Get a proper polish applicator. Make a world of difference and be a lot easier on your hand because it's shaped for it. But if you're worried about polishing a car and using a machine, neither of these on an orbital polisher like a Porter cable will ever burn through clear coat. You would die before you get through clear coat. They're very gentle, but they are effective, and they will make a good improvement to a very bad car, and they'll finish off polishing compound by machine, no problem. So yeah, I don't regret buying this to replace this because this is again right about to run out. Good stuff by Mothers. Obviously, Meguiars, they've got a lot of great products. Ultimate Compound is an absolutely fantastic polish. If you can get your hands on it for cheap, it's great. But yeah, either way, there you go. Thank you again for watching. See you in the next one.